Is life even worth living if there isn't an afterlife?
I got my mini eggs, got my nails in case I'm bored, and got my silly putty. I'm ready for it. I, from time to time, enjoy myself some Midnight Mormons.
He's not depressed enough to be thinking this stuff.
And I myself am no longer a believer of the LDS faith. I still consider myself Mormon. It's a culture and it's my people. I just no longer believe in its precepts. But I love the people in it. That's why I care. That's why I listen. Let's go. Let's talk. Let's chat. In true Dan McClellan fashion, let's see it.
Okay.
There is no God, let's say. Let's just play the mind game. There's no God. There's no redemption. Would existence be justified at all? Or would it have been better that none of this ever happened?
Jacob Hanson. This question alone helps me realize why it is you hold so tightly to your beliefs. Because you literally believe life is not worth living unless there's an afterlife. Does that even make sense? Like, seriously, does that make sense? Your existence right now and the things you experience, seeing your beautiful children grow up, watching them play soccer and learn and grow, and yourself growing and learning, waking up in the morning and seeing the sunrise, looking at the gorgeous cloud formations above you, the rain that falls to the ground, the birds that are chirping, even the pain and the suffering, the sensory feeling in this life and being able to interact has zero value to you unless you get to live after this life in some state that's better than this. I just have to say, it sounds terribly greedy and arrogant.
Here's what I'll say. I think this is why I see people that I know go into nihilism.
Nihilism, yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Because if there is no eternity of any kind, then you can be so overwhelmed by all of the suffering that there is in the world.
Nihilism. I get it. After leaving faith, it's really strange. I'll just have like little kind of moments where it hits and it's kind of like this doomy feeling, and it's really uncomfortable. And I have felt it. So I do understand what it feels like, and it's not pretty. But I'll tell you what, it's actually the setup of believing that there needs to be something after this life, that there should be something after this life, and that everything needs to have the type of meaning or purpose that you have already assigned to it in order to be worth living, in order to be worthy of experiencing and enjoying. Do you see that? Without the preconception, the belief that it's totally necessary and that that's how it should be, there isn't that dread of like, oh no, it's not as I thought it would be. So now scrap it all. I know that there are some people that go into a nihilistic place, and I feel for them. That is torture, and that's doom, and that's so sad. But I have found for myself gratitude. It's like, let go of all the needs and the shoulds and the woulds and the coulds, and just be here. Now, experience it, feel it, be in awe of it, awe and wonder, realizing you don't have to figure it all out. And even those who believe they have it all figured out may come to find they know nothing in the reality, in the grand scheme of life and reality as we know it or as we think we know it. We're convinced only to find out we've just created this belief inside of ourselves that we know and that we believe and that it is so. It's just a belief.
And beings to like cease to exist so that suffering could be lessened. I see how people get there. I don't think that's right though.
The sooner that we come to accept suffering as part of life, the less suffering you experience. Do you see this? When suffering has been framed as being adversarial, awful, bad, wrong, that we should always have joy and happiness, and so when we don't, we're suffering, then of course we believe it's bad and it's wrong. But we just realize it just is. It's part of all of it. And even to go along with the narrative of opposition in all things, my very favorite topics and something I really embraced and loved in the LDS faith. So too here, as I'm saying, that the catastrophic natural disaster that you endure, as hard as it is and as much suffering as it is, it's kind of that whole first and second arrow kind of theory. Like, the storm happened, your house is flooded, and it's ugly, and it's going to be hard work, and it's a mess, and it doesn't feel fair. After that, any more that you add to that story, or you keep going over that story, or thinking how it shouldn't, how it couldn't, how it wouldn't have, if, all of that is just increasing the suffering. We do so much of our suffering on ourselves because we want things to be different than they are. And a lot of our religious stories and concepts actually support that. That for one to question why, but why would this happen to me? I've been good, I've been righteous, I pay my tithing. Why? How could God do this? Why would he do this? Oh, it must be because I need to suffer. There's something good from this pain that I'm, and then we'd like add on the suffering because, oh, we're suffering just as Christ suffered. And I've been in that place. I've gone through that. What did Neil A. Maxwell call it? The wintry doctrine? That we could be like Christ and with Christ in our suffering. And that there was goodness that came from self-flagellation and deep, like intentional, added on suffering. If you don't believe that you need to suffer, that you've got to add to the suffering because something's wrong with you or you deserve it, then you can just surrender to the suffering, accept it for what it is, see it for what it is, and then move forward, move on. It's only going to help benefit you and exaggerate the things that are beautiful and good and awesome. You can flip anything around. You really can. Even a natural disaster is an opportunity for growth. Believe it or not, just Brownie and me, we're just getting started. Go find part 2.